Call the BZA meeting call to order. This is Wednesday, July the 28th. If we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Give a brief explanation of the meeting this evening, what to expect. The sequence will be as follows. We'll hear the appeal first, and then other business of the board will follow the hearing of the appeals. You're welcome to stay for the entire meeting, but you're not required to do so. All who speak or testify before the board will be sworn in. This may be done either by a group or individually. Anyone addressing the board is requested to use the speaker stand. Each person is asked to give his or her name and address when testifying. Our meetings are recorded, so anyone speaking may be cross-examined by an attorney. All documents, photographs, or evidence presented by the case may be accepted by the board. The chairman will rule whether the additional items being offered will be accepted or rejected. The person presenting each case may also withdraw a document. The zoning administrator or staff member will present a brief summary or statement for each appeal. Once the BZA staff presentation is complete, the appellate will then have the opportunity to present their case. Following the appellate's presentation, the chairman will ask anyone in favor or opposition of the appeal to speak, and in some instances, time limits may be placed on the presentation. Next, the board will motion to close the public portion of the hearing. Then individual board members will begin to ask their questions. Board members may ask individuals who have testified to return to the speaker podium. Following the board's question, a motion and second will be made by the member of the board to either approve or deny with conditions or deny the appeal. The decision of the board is effective date from the vote. Finally, respect to the process. Respect is paramount, so we want to make sure that we keep our cool and deliberations for each case are taken seriously by the board. Likewise, expect that everyone will act in a businesslike fashion. No disruptions will be tolerated. So I want to thank you for your attention. If you will do a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Bartold?
Here.
Mr. Hill? Ms. Owens?
Here.
Mr. Shep?
Present.
Mr. Roberto?
Present. So I noticed Mr. Hill is not here, so we will call our alternate. And Mr. Saito?
Mr.
Saito? Saito.
Yes. You can be seated.
Do you want to swear them in prior to him seating? Perfect. So we'll do we need to swear in anyone else?
Yes.
Okay.
I, James Saito,
I, James Saito,
solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will uphold the Constitution
that I will uphold the Constitution
and laws
and laws
of the United States of America,
of the United States of America,
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the State of Ohio,
of the State of Ohio,
and the laws
and the laws
and resolutions
and the resolutions
of Colerain Township,
of Colerain Township,
and that to the best of my ability
and to the best of my ability
will faithfully discharge the duties
will faithfully discharge the duties
of a member
of a member
of the Colerain Township
of the Colerain Township
Board of Zoning Appeals
Board of Zoning Appeals
in and for Colerain Township,
in and for Colerain Township,
Hamilton County,
Hamilton County,
State of Ohio.
State of Ohio.
So help me God.
So help me God. Thank you.
Just need your signature here. Same thing. I, Dion Owens,
I, Dion Owens,
solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will uphold
that I will uphold
the Constitution and laws of the United States of America,
the Constitution and laws of the United States of America,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Ohio,
and the laws and resolutions
and the laws and resolutions
of Colerain Township,
of Colerain Township,
and that to the best of my ability
and that to the best of my ability
will faithfully discharge
will faithfully discharge
the duties of a member of Colerain Township
the duties of a member of Colerain Township
Board of Zoning Appeals
Board of Zoning Appeals
in and for Colerain Township,
in and for Colerain Township,
Hamilton County,
Hamilton County,
State of Ohio,
State of Ohio,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Sign this one.
I'd like to thank our alternate and new assigned member, Ms. Owens, for joining our board. Look forward to working with them. So our next order of business will be to be swearing in anyone that's going to be speaking before the board this evening. If you are speaking before the board, would you please stand and raise your right hand? You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before the Board of Zoning Appeals. Say, I do.
I do.
Thank you. So our first case this evening is a continuation from last week. This is BZA 2021-04, a request for a variance for additional wall signage area allowance. The location of the property is 9686 Colerain Avenue. The applicant/owner is Atlantic Sign on behalf of the property owner, USREL Real Estate Holdings. Does the staff have a presentation?
Yes, just to review more for people who might be watching this on video, but you're familiar with the case. This was reviewed at the June meeting. The original request was for a 335 square foot wall sign in a B3 zoning district. In that district, 150 square feet is the maximum. So the request was for a little more than double what would typically be allowed. This was discussed, a public hearing was open, held. We had the applicant speak. There was no other opposition to the sign or people to speak in favor one way or the other. So that public hearing was closed at your last meeting, so the public hearing requirement has been met. The applicant was given the opportunity to reconsider a lesser sign area than was originally proposed. And the applicant has gone back and re-proposed for this meeting a 171 square foot sign. So that's 21 square feet more than what is allowed by code. Just to review, the property is the former Kroger Shopping Center near the intersection of Springdale Road and Colerain Avenue. The main Kroger store has been split into two rental units. One is currently occupied by Big Lots. The applicant is Ross Dress for Less store and is, I think, just beginning remodeling on their portion of the store. It is zoned a combination B2 and B3. The sign regulations for wall signs are the same in both of those districts. This is a picture of what it looked like when Kroger was still occupying the site. Kroger's did have a wall sign that met the 150 square foot maximum. This is what it looks like today. Big Lots has basically half of it and has put their signs up. It was noted at the last meeting, Big Lots was also eligible for 150 square feet, but they only chose to use 97 square feet. So that sign could have been 1/3 larger than what is shown there. And this just shows which portion of that building is proposed for the Ross store. Also, what was considered is their large non-conforming pylon sign in front. Typically, the total for that would be only 150 square feet if this were straight zoning. As it stands, the Big Lots panel by itself is 150 square feet, and what's proposed for the Ross store is 150 square feet. So it was noted that they are eligible for considerably more because this is a grandfathered non-conforming sign. And that's where the Ross panel would go. There's actually two of those pylons. There's one on Springdale Road, one on Colerain Avenue. This is just from the application for the Big Lots store on the same building. We noted that the signs across the street at Northgate Mall. Those are, each tenant was allowed 150 square feet. That building is considerably closer to Colerain Avenue than the Kroger building. This was the original proposal for 335 square feet of sign. This proposal actually had 4 signs. There's 2 small signs and a larger one. Let me get my laser pointer. There is a sign that's only about, I think those were only about 8 square feet, kind of to the side, and then there's one that hangs underneath this canopy. So it was the total of all of those that was the 335 square feet. The new proposal is 171 square feet. They're eliminating the other smaller signs and putting it all on one large sign. They provided, actually, those are 2 different scenarios that they presented. But keep in mind, what we're approving isn't necessarily a sign design. It's a sign area allotment for this store. And again, this is what their proposal was for the insert in the pylon sign. That is really not under consideration for the variance, though, tonight. It's simply the wall sign. There are 2 sections that come into play with this. One is that wall signs are permitted at a ratio of 1 square foot for each lineal foot of building frontage. This particular slot has 171 lineal feet of frontage. So actually it complies with section 1. Now, last month's proposal did not comply with section 1, so it was actually variances from 2 sections. With this 171 square foot proposal, we're down to just 1 section of code, and that is section 2 here that says the total sign area of all wall signs on a single building frontage shall not exceed 150 square feet. The review criteria is exactly the same as last month. The board shall not be authorized to grant a variance for a use that is otherwise prohibited in the zoning district in which the property is located. B, the board may authorize a variance when such variance will not be contrary to the public interest, where owning to special conditions, a literal enforcement of the resolution result in unnecessary hardship, and that the spirit of the resolution shall be observed and substantial justice be done. C, the Board of Zoning Appeals may impose such conditions and restrictions upon the property benefiting by the variance as the Board of Zoning Appeals may deem necessary to comply with the standards set forth in this section, to reduce or minimize the impact of such variance upon the property in the neighborhood and to further the purpose and intent of this resolution. D, the granting of the variance shall not be authorized unless the Board of Zoning Appeals finds that the variance from the provision requirements of this resolution will not be contrary to the public interest and owning to special conditions pertaining to specific piece of property, the literal enforcement and provisions or requirements of this resolution would cause unnecessary hardship. And the Board of Zoning Appeals may attach conditions regarding the location, character, and features of the proposed structure or use as may deem necessary in the interest and furtherance of the purposes of the resolution and the public interest. E, no variance shall be considered or granted by the Board of Zoning Appeals which would allow a change in the use of the parcel, building, or structure where such change of use could be accomplished by redistricting of the subject property. And the staff findings following the Duncan factors, as number 1, the property in question would likely yield a reasonable return without the variance. The property can reasonably be identified with signs meeting the current zoning regulations. Number 2, the sign variance requested is substantial since it's 223% over what's allowed for signage. Actually, that 223 was based on the larger sign. That percentage is reduced significantly with the revised proposal. Number 3, the granting of the variance would be a consideration that's not available to other property owners in the neighborhood. Number 4, the granting of the variance would probably have a negative impact on neighboring properties since the Ross sign would be more than triple the size, again, that was the previous proposal, than the big lots or for a similar size space. It would create a precedent to allow sign variances if requested by neighboring properties. Number 5, the sign variance would not affect the delivery of governmental services. 6, there's no topographic issues related to this property which would constrain the reasonable application of the sign regulations without additional expenses. And number 7, by taking into consideration the benefit to the applicant if the variance is granted as weighed against the potential detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood and broader community, staff finds that substantial justice would be done by not granting the variance. Our recommendation is still for denial of the variance. We do realize that it is much, much more in line with our code than last month's proposal. We typically, as staff, tend to give a recommendation that is in keeping with the code, barring exceptional hardship. And it's really the job of this board to discern if there is a hardship. And at the last meeting, it was discussed that this building is over 400 feet back from Colerain Avenue, and that wall signs are less visible from that kind of a distance as they would be if they were much closer to the road. Our sign regulations does not recognize that distance. I am familiar with some communities that do have provisions in their sign regulations that give additional percentage sign for every 100 feet back. You get X percent more of sign area. With that said, in the next year, we're going to be revisiting all of our zoning requirements and regulations and look to update the code. The code's been updated periodically since 2006 when it was initially adopted, but not in a comprehensive way. And we have a laundry list of things that we would like to see changed, tweaked in the code, particularly regarding whenever things come to the Board of Zoning Appeals multiple times for requests and all claiming the same hardships. Sometimes that gives us cause to go back and read that regulation and say, does this really make sense for Colerain? But given the rules as they stand now, our recommendation still for denial. Any questions or comments?
Any questions for the staff?
Just one. I don't have my glasses, but when I look at the two elevations,
Yes.
under sign area used, they have different numbers than you use. So is it just they're calculating a different way?
We include the area, like we will draw rectangles around the box.
Yeah.
We don't start dividing up individual words and the spaces between lines. So that's why the difference
So
is there.
like dress for less, is that one big rectangle?
It is two rectangles on top of each other, but we include the space between the lines.
Well, I'm not talking about Ross, just the word or the sentence, dress for less. That's one big rectangle?
Yes.
You don't take each letter individually?
Yeah, we didn't, like, on the one that's on the screen, we didn't take it vertically up to the top of the Ross and take that. I took two separate rectangles for that, but then consider that they have two proposals here. Like that one, we would just probably take a straight rectangle on that.
Any other questions for staff? I see none. Is the applicant present? Can you give your presentation, make sure the microphone is on, and state your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Brooke Alini. My address is 413 Washington Avenue, Newport, Kentucky, 41071.
Okay.
It's all the same. I fought really hard to try to get those pylons down, but they liked them because they gave them that extra signage. So we thought the compromise was good with the 171.
Okay.
So that's what we're all in agreement on that.
Okay, very good.
pretty straightforward tonight.
Yes, ma'am. Is there anyone else speaking in favor? Anyone speaking in opposition? I see none. Can I have a motion for the close of the public portion?
Actually, this isn't necessarily a public hearing because you've closed the public hearing before.
Okay, so now we're just speaking to the applicant.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, do we have any questions for the applicant from the board?
Yes, I do. The two versions, I'm assuming are the same square footage, Marty?
Yes.
And does the company have a preference for either one?
Not that they've told me. They just presented both options to see which one you would like better. I personally like this one better, but that's just my opinion.
Okay.
It doesn't look as cluttered. This is the one that they originally proposed, just smaller,
You're not gonna go down.
is the one that has it underneath. So I would go with that one.
Okay. Mr. Bartle, you have a question?
I guess the only question would be if it had to be 150, is that right? 150 square feet max?
Right.
Is that major heartburn to the client, or would they still proceed? Or you don't know, or?
Well, that was the problem last week, or last month. I guess it's been a month. The issue is that it's set back so far from the road, and they're redoing the entire front facade of the building. So when you put a 150 square foot sign on that new giant facade, it just kind of looks really small and gets lost in the facade itself. So the client would really like to do the proposed 170, 171, whatever that
Right.
one was,
Okay.
the linear footage one.
Right, thanks. Are they lit?
Yes, internally lit.
Okay.
They're basic channel letters.
This is the 151 square foot that was submitted at the last meeting. That's that.
All right.
It just looks a lot smaller, I think. Gets a little lost in there. And when the distance from Colerain to the building.
Right,
That's combined.
that's all I have.
Okay. Ms. Owens, do you have any questions?
I do not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Saito?
Not at this time, no.
Thank you. I don't have any questions. I go back to, I like the fact that you're improving the image of the area, and I go back to where I'm glad you're reviewing this, as far as a zoning, it needs to be reviewed, because I think we are being unfair by not giving the consideration of distance from the road. That should be definitely that's the hardship in this case, in my opinion. And that is the reason why I would recommend or allow a larger, based upon the square footage of the building versus our cap of 150. So that's where I stand. Do we have anyone who would like to make a motion for the approve or deny these proposals?
I'll make a motion to approve the variance as presented.
I will second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have a discussion? Anyone want to have a comment or talk about it?
Am I allowed after making my second?
Sure.
Okay, I have a question, for Marty, I guess this would be. Would this be a permanent, or would a new applicant be automatically given the 171, or would they have to reapply
No.
the new name?
Once variances are granted for a property and the hardships established, that goes with any future tenant of that particular space.
Is it possible to make an amendment to that? And I have a specific reason for asking that.
There, as far as I know, there is no way to sunset a variance provision. They are considered permanent.
Okay.
And in this case, Marty, it only affecting the Ross store. It's not affecting the Big Lots store.
That's correct, because the application is only for the Ross store.
All right, so discussion's been made. Any further discussion? So the motion and second made. We'll do a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Berthold?
Yes.
Ms. Owens?
Yes.
Mr. Shutt?
Yes.
Aye.
Mr. Roberto,
Mr. Saito first, right?
Mr. Saito, sorry.
He said, he
And
affirmed,
Mr. Roberto.
yes.
Yes.
So the motion is carried. Congratulations on
Thanks.
your modification. We look forward to the new store, new facade, and, good things for Colerain Township.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so the next part is, we have no unfinished business.
Oh, I have a question, sorry. Do we get to choose which? Are we going with that design?
Square footage is all, you've been approved for 171.
Okay, just checking. Thank you.
So approval of minutes from June 23rd. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Make a motion to
I
approve
had
the
a comment.
Okay, good.
Marty, on the last page, it mentions my name when I wasn't here.
Oh, no.
A valid motion was made by Mr. Reiniger at the very bottom of the last page.
Oh, okay. Did I bring my? I did not bring my roll call sheet from the last one, but I can look that up and make the adjustment.
Sure, okay.
Okay.
So do we have a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting with the correction made to Mr. Bartle's name?
Make a motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Saito,
Here, yes.
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Bartold,
Yes.
Mr. Shep,
Aye.
Mr. Roberto.
Yes. Our next meeting will be August 25th, 2021. Is there a scheduled?
Yes, we have 2 cases for next month.
And then we're at administrative matters. We need to make a motion to elect a vice chair with the absence of Mr. Reininger. We need to fill that vacancy. So would we have a motion to elect a vice chair?
A motion to elect a vice chair.
Who would you recommend?
I would recommend Mr. Robert
Bartle.
Bartels. Excuse me.
So we have a motion. I would second that motion. Any discussion? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Saito,
Yes.
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Shep,
Aye.
Mr. Bartold,
Yes.
Mr. Roberto.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Glad you're on the board to serve as vice chair, and you can sign some documents tonight.
Yep.
With that, we have no other anything on our agenda, so we will make a motion to adjourn. Can we have that?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
A second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Saito,
Yes.
Ms. Owens,
Yes.
Mr. Shep,
Yes.
Mr. Bartold,
Yes.
Mr. Roberto.
Yes, we are adjourned.